Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the Sound Table. I'm your host, and I'm joined by our co-host, Miranda.
Hello.
And before we jump into the episode today, if you're watching this, you are on the new channel for the Sound Table. Previously, we had a couple episodes on our Make Pop Music channel, and then before that, we have a bunch of episodes that there are no video podcasts of. It's just the audio. So if you haven't listened to any of those, all of the audio is going to be wherever you get your podcasts. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Google Podcast, Amazon Podcast, our RSS feed, literally wherever. And then if you want to see any of our other video episodes, you can still see those at Make Pop Music, but we're not going to be posting over there anymore. So if you want to see future episodes, we do podcasts every other Monday, and we do the video podcast on that following Wednesday. So if you want to see those, make sure that you subscribe to this channel because we will be posting all things podcast to this Sound Table channel. Did I miss anything on that?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, we just figured, I don't know.
Singing everything today, I guess.
I guess so. I'm giving people a show.
That?
We just figured that just to keep the algorithms a little bit cleaner, we can have all of our production tutorials and stuff still over on Make Pop Music, and then we can have everything podcast related over here, and then all of our podcast clips and stuff like that, we're still going to just post to our Make Pop Music Instagram account.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to start an Instagram just for the Sound Table.
Nah, doesn't seem worth it.
I don't want a podcast reel to accidentally go viral and then people not see that we have a bunch of stuff to buy. You know what I'm saying? Like, promo for what?
Yeah, really.
That was a joke, kind of. But I am ready to dive into today's topic.
Yeah, what's today's topic, Austin? I'm going to ask you.
I think today I kind of want to talk about genres of music and just the idea of, like, I'm kind of getting tired of people kind of saying that, like, all pop music sounds the same. It's like a big cop-out that you've always heard of, like, oh, I don't like pop music. It all sounds the same. It's also simple. It's also generic. It's also regurgitated. Because, like, I was looking at the Billboard charts, and to me, literally none of the top 20 songs sound anything alike.
Right.
Like, other than them being by the same artist. Like,
Well,
you know, obviously there's going to be multiple entries from some people in there. But, like, outside of that, I don't think that there really are any similar tracks. I think we've actually gotten to a time period where genres are starting to break down a little bit. We're having more micro trends instead of these big label-driven trends. And I kind of want to dive into all of that today and just kind of explain why I don't think pop music is super generic anymore. I don't really know if it ever was. People say this all the time. It's like we always heard our parents say, pop music's boring, pop music sucks. They heard their parents say it in the 80s. They heard their parents say it when Elvis came out. It's just one of those things of, like, as we get older, we never think that we're going to become the people that get really grouchy about shit.
I know. I'm really scared of that. I'm going to be honest. So many people. It's weird because I feel like everyone experiences being in their teens, 20s, and then their generations above them talking about how their music taste sucks. But it's like those people had that exact same thing happen to them.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting.
We're always like, oh, you just don't get it. You're old.
Yes.
And then now we're all getting older.
And then when you're young, you're like, then when you're old, you're like, well, you don't understand.
I'm seeing some people turn into that person that we all kind of criticized when we were younger, where it's like you're not really understanding trends. You're not understanding movements. You're not understanding fashion.
Well, and like some trends, I don't know if this is a hot take, maybe. I don't think so. But some trends are not meant for certain generations.
I would say that most trends are not meant for older generations.
Like,
older generations are too busy to care most of the time.
I don't think like Y2K coming back with like low-rise jeans and everything like that is meant for someone in their 60s. Like, I mean, rock it if you want to rock it, but trends are typically set by young people
pushing boundaries.
Right. And I don't even think that we are in that group of young
I don't either.
people.
No, we're kind of in a weird middle ground. We're both in our late 20s.
Yeah.
We're almost 30.
Hey, first of all, I'm 28.
I'm 29. She'll be 29 in like a month or two, like 2 months.
Yeah, in July.
So, I mean, we're getting to that point.
Yeah,
but
we are in our late 20s though, so what the heck do we know?
I will say, I think that barrier is also being broken down with like how chronically online people all the way up into like their 50s and 60s are. Where it's like now there's a lot more access and information rather than just like you look on the cover of a magazine and you're like, what is, Madonna wearing right now?
Yeah,
like, it's just different. Like, you're always around trends.
Yeah.
You're always around micro trends. Like, we've talked about fashion before off of this podcast where like Miranda and I will basically say like, there are no big cycles of fashion trends. Right now, the thing is like micro trends. So if you're into...
Which really sucks, honestly.
It does because it's pushed by fast fashion. So like, if you're into cottagecore, you can wear that. If you're into Y2K, you can wear that. If you're into... like tech wear, you can wear that. If you're into athleisure, you can wear that. And it's more so become like cliques of trends. And I feel the
Yeah.
same about music, right? Like
Yeah, it's
you're gonna have
weird.
your gay club anthems like your Troye Sivan, your Charlie XCX, your BB Rexa. Then you're gonna have your folky kind of ballady pop like Noah Kahan or
Post Malone now.
like like even like Post Malone,
He's
or
going
like you
that
have like
way.
Beyonce doing the country stuff, or you have your rock stuff like you've got like Knox and the band Camino all doing like pop rock. So really, I think there's enough out there now where you can kind of get whatever you want.
Yeah.
But I do want to just talk a little bit about that. So
Mm-hmm.
other than that, I'm going to bring up like the top 20 so we can go over that. But while I'm looking that up, do you have any thoughts about people's perception of like music's stale, music's boring, music's generic, it's all plug and play? Because I'm biased as a producer. I know that's not the truth.
Right. I don't know. I just think I think we all do it though. It's not just older generations. I think every generation does it, where you just look at everything with rose tinted lenses,
Right.
Like it's really easy to be like, oh, well, in my day, it's like everyone in our generation honestly does it with the internet. Like we're all like, oh, well, we had the best childhood because we got to grow up like, right, we were the last generation to grow up without the internet, like everyone says that.
Yeah.
That's around our age-ish. So it's kind of like everyone does that. Like, I don't know. I think everyone just has
Nostalgia goggles on all the time.
And it's easy because like who doesn't?
Because when people say now, they're like, all of the music now sounds the same. Like all of the rappers now are doing the same thing. They all have their triplet flow with their 808s. And then I go back and I listen to like early 2000s hip hop. I love it, but it all sounded the same. It was all produced by Pharrell or the Neptunes and Timbaland.
Yeah,
and like,
exactly.
Like all of those songs sounded the same, whether you were Nelly or whether you were like a 50 Cent pop record or whether you were Ludacris.
Yeah.
Like Chingy, like they all kind of fit into a same thing. So I want to talk about genre later, but just keep in mind as I go over this Billboard list, genres are a thing. Like if things sound similar, it's because they're under the same goddamn umbrella.
Yeah. You know what's funny though is I feel like, which maybe it's easy to say now because you're like in the time, we're obviously in the present, so it's really easy to say it. But I feel like, when you like hear like Dark Horse by Katy Perry and you're like, that song is so, when that song came out, 2015 or whatever?
13, I think.
You're
13,
like,
14.
that song is so that year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You'll
like Stamped in Time.
Yeah, or like the Chainsmokers Halsey song,
Closer.
You'll
from, like,
hear
2015.
that. Yeah, and you're like, that song is so that time.
Lady Gaga's like Fame Monster stuff from 2010.
Yes, like, and like, or like Nelly from 2003. You're like, that's so 2003. I'm like, what right now are we going to look back on and be like, that is so 2024, like 2020 even? Like, I don't know.
It's a hard question because I think that, in my opinion, I think pop music now is more diverse than it ever has been.
I think so too. That's
which is
what
funny
I'm
because that's
curious.
why I'm getting annoyed with people bitching online all the time saying that everything sounds the same.
Yeah, that's what
Like-
I'm curious about is I'm like,
Like if you were to think of like what is an 80s pop record, you're going to think of like
Yes,
Madonna or Michael Jackson or Aha or Tears for Fear or, Duran Duran. And like I could look back and be like, these all sound the fucking same. They're Lindrums, they're Junos and Prophet Sixes and ARPs. And that's it. It's all using the same style chord progression. Like they played a little bit more with structure then, but in terms of songs or like sounds, they weren't using presets on the computer, but goddamn, they were using presets on a keyboard.
Yeah.
Like, you can even go back to classical music. If I were to show somebody that doesn't study classical music, Mozart versus Beethoven versus Chopin, they could not name it. They'd be like, it all sounds the same to me. They all sound like big
never.
symphonies or big movement. Like nobody knows. And that's my point is like, I'm tired of people growing and then thinking that that gives an opinion to kind of just be like a grouch about music or about movies or about culture in general, because it's always changing. And you're always going to look at the things that you preferred at a really pivotal point in your life and hold that at a higher regard.
Yeah. It's just interesting too. I'm just like, who cares?
Who cares?
Who cares at the end of the day?
Do you want to go over this list? It's crazy. I looked at it before I started filming.
Is it as of today?
It's Billboard Top 100 as of right now.
Which is?
So today is
May 7th.
May 7th.
So
you're going to hear this on Monday. We're filming this pretty last minute.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we are.
So it'll probably be the same next week. Number 1, Fortnite by Taylor Swift and Post Malone. That's like a synth poppy, kind of like nostalgic 80s inspired record, kind of lo-fi. Number 2, you have $1 Million Baby by Tommy Richmond. It's the song that's popping off all over TikTok, where it's just a guy basically singing in falsetto over this like knocking 808 instrumental. It's really, really fire.
I see so many TikToks and reels of that, and I literally like someone in the comments was like, does anyone know any of the lyrics to this except where he says $1 Million Baby? Yeah, it's like I just know when he says $1 Million Baby. I'm like, why is that so accurate? Yeah, that's the only line
That's just
everyone
fire
knows.
though.
It's so good.
Could not sound more different than Fortnite.
Could not.
A bar song by Shabuzi. That's what I was singing earlier. It's like a country song. Shabuzi was on the new Beyonce record.
Okay,
Black country artist, super, super fire.
Gotcha, yeah. Very different also, all three.
Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter. One that I would say is one of the more generic pop songs. It kind of sounds like Dua Lipa records of the past 5 years. Kind of sounds like some of the Lizzo records. It's a great record.
It's really catchy.
It has that disco pop element with like 4 on the floor kick, rock and bass line, like kind of funk guitars. Doesn't sound like Fortnite, $1 Million Baby, or a bar song though. Beautiful Things by Benson Boone, the song that's all over TikTok. You know, these beautiful things that I've done.
Yeah, when everyone uses
Not
those
for
transition
me,
music.
but huge. It's like I would call that like anthemic pop.
Yeah,
It's
for
like,
sure. Like
almost like an Imagine Dragons-y,
yes,
like
AWOL Nation kind of vibe. Yeah.
Sounds nothing like any of those. What's funny is that people would hold that song and then the next 2 songs, I think, at a higher regard than all of the female-led pop songs. The next one is Lose Control by Teddy Swims. Teddy Swims is incredible.
He's
it's a great song. But again, it's like R&B vocals over
him.
like yeah, I think it's like it's a song done in 3/4. Kind of cinematic, kind of big with production. And the next is Too Sweet by Hozier. The I take my whiskey.
Oh yeah. Again, very popular.
Fire.
I know all of
I
these
would say that those 3 songs so far
Instagram.
sound the most alike. And I think that those will be the ones that people respect the most out of the list that I've named so far.
Yeah. I mean, not to be that person, but it's because they're men.
Next, we have Like That by Future, Metro Boomin, and Kendrick Lamar. Does not sound anything like the only other hip-hop entry, which is $1 Million Baby.
Nope.
We have a couple Taylor Swift songs. I'm not going to count those because they're from the same record.
Yeah.
But it's I Can Do It With a Broken Heart, which is not similar to Fortnite at all.
No.
It's like super fast, super poppy, super upbeat and bubbly.
Yeah.
Not lo-fi at all. And then we have Down Bad, which is not a synth pop song at all. It's like a dark poppy ambient kind of song.
Yeah.
Then you have Euphoria by Kendrick Lamar. Not similar to Like That at all.
Is Like That and Euphoria, are those his beef songs or no?
Like That is the one where he's like, fuck the big 3, it's just big me.
Yeah.
It was like the first one he did with Metro.
So his 2 beef songs are in the top, but not Drake's?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Drake doesn't come in until 17.
Because I thought I've been seeing how people saying that his was like hit harder, like the stuff he was saying, it was like, damn, you took this like real far.
A little serious.
Yeah, but then Drake's were like more catchy.
Right.
Yeah.
Next we have Saturn by SZA. Beautiful. It's like an
I love
R&B
SZA.
song. Not hip hop, not synth pop, not country, not anything like the other 10 that we've named. Then you have Lovin' on Me by Jack Harlow, which almost feels like a 90s. I cannot believe that's still in the top.
Is that not an old song? Yeah.
It's like about a year old, year and a half old.
Damn, he just.
But
beat
like
my truck.
it like has this old like sample, and then it's got this like triplet acid bass thing. If you haven't heard it, it's a cool song actually, but
I'm sure
I would
they've
say
heard
that
it.
feels more like, it almost feels like 90s like New Jack Swing mixed with like modern hip hop. Like it does feel like it could have been like a Belle Biv DeVoe song or something like that. So again, nothing like those. Then you have Push Ups by Drake. Then you have We Can't Be Friends, so another pop entry from Ariana Grande. It doesn't sound anything like that. It is 4 on the Floor, but to me it sounds like Dancing on My Own by Robin.
Yeah.
So I would consider this like a late night club song, like a late night drive song. It's kind of upbeat, but the chord progression's really melancholy. Then you have Florida by Taylor Swift, which sounds nothing like the others. There's a bunch of Taylor Swift stuff that I'm skipping,
Yeah,
but I'm going over the
'cause-
ones that specifically feel way different.
Yeah.
So Florida feels nothing like any of the ones that we've talked about so far.
Right.
Neither does Guilty as Sin. Guilty as Sin to me sounds like an early 2000s alternative song. Like it sounds like Dashboard Confessional or Brand New or something like that. Then we have Stick Season by Noah Kahan. So
Still in the top.
like a folky country pop song.
Right.
Then we have I Remember Everything from Zach Bryan featuring Casey Musgraves. So a country
I'm assuming
song.
a country song.
There's been a lot of country so far. Then we have Texas Hold'em by Beyonce, a country song. And then we have Greedy by Tate McRae. What could also be seen as like what I see called a generic pop song all the time. Not in the same tempo, key, or style as any of the others.
No.
I'll name like one or two more, but I think we're getting to the point. Get It Sexy by Sexy Red.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know she doesn't
Club
sound like
banger.
anybody on that
Like,
list.
And then End of Beginning by Joe.
Who's Joe?
The Joe Keery.
Oh. What's his artist name?
Joe, DJO.
Oh, I don't know why I thought it was something different than that.
Those are like 30 of the top 40 songs.
Yeah.
I would argue that none of those sound the same.
Yeah. My thing is if that was a playlist, if you think all of those sound the same, and obviously all those don't, but even some of those, you put them on a playlist, you'd be like, this playlist is all over the
playlist is not like a
fucking
top
place.
hits playlist. A playlist of like,
No,
hey, this has
right.
a vibe.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, what the fuck is the
Like if
vibe
you were
of this
like,
playlist?
oh, I want to listen to whatever type of pop music, and then you played that, you'd be like, this is all over the damn place.
Where like I could easily make a playlist of like early 2000s pop punk stuff where it's like Blink-182 and Newfound Glory and Brand New and The Used, and to the common ear, most people would be like, these all sound similar. I don't know. These could all be the same band.
Which is a genre.
Bingo. There it is. That's a perfect segue
genre
into like the
is.
next point of this conversation / argument that I have with people. Is like,
he's coming in hot today, guys.
what is generic versus like what is the boundaries of a genre, right? Like a genre is a group of songs that all share common themes, common lyrical kind of themes and motifs, common chord progressions, common sound selection, common, tempos and rhythms. Like you look at something like Afrobeat, great genre, built off of literally everything having the same baseline rhythm. That
right.
You can take liberties in that, but at the end of the day, that is what makes it an Afrobeat song.
Right.
So
you can't change the integrity.
How are you going to call it generic when that is the point of a fucking genre?
Yeah.
It's like reggaeton has a similar thing.
In the word
Or like
generic.
rock is going to be guitars and live drums.
Mm-hmm.
Like the pop is in a weird place and always kind of has been, because it's like, do we look at pop meaning popular, or do we look at pop meaning pop is a genre with genre boundaries,
That's
right?
what I think
so
it
like
is.
I think
it's a little bit of both, but
you could call Noah Kahan pop because he's huge.
yeah, but
I don't think he's a pop artist.
People wouldn't. That's why I don't think it should stand for popular, because he's very popular. Hoser, very popular. Like you wouldn't consider either of them pop music,
Right.
or like
They might have pop influences.
Drake,
They might be on the pop
Drake
side
is kind of pop-ish
of their
He's
genre. I would say
hip-hop.
Drake's on the pop side of hip hop.
Yeah, but he's still.
I don't think he's a pop artist.
No, he's not. Not at all.
Because when I think of pop as a genre, I'm thinking simple, catchy melodies and refrains. I'm
Mhm.
thinking normally a lot of synthetic sounds, so a lot of synths, a lot of, sample drums. Let's take it back to like the 80s, right? Pop music in the 80s. We talked about it 10 minutes ago. Is like the Lynn drums, the Junos, the
Mhm.
Odyssey Arps, the, fucking Prophets, the Oberheims. That was what made pop music. It is still kind of the same today, where like you look at Feather by Sabrina Carpenter and you're like, oh, that could be kind of a disco song.
Yeah.
But it's a pop song because it doesn't go full disco. I think the thing that pop does is a lot of the time it will take elements from other genres and kind of make them a little bit more palatable for people who might not be deep into that, right?
Yeah.
So like you were to look at a pop artist like Beyonce. I wouldn't call her a country artist because of her new album. I think she pulls a lot from country.
Yeah.
It could even be considered a country album,
Yes,
but it's using
definitely.
all of those things in such a pop-centric way. Like
Yeah.
I would say that about Dan and Shay, like the country duo.
Yeah.
They're a pop duo to me. They are pop songs sang with a country accent.
Yeah. I think that's like kind of the purpose of pop music, is to take elements from other genres and kind of blend them with pop sounds. Like I feel like that's kind of the point, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, that's why I like working in pop, is because like I'm a little
Yeah.
bit ADHD with like what kind of music I want to make at any given time.
Yeah.
And working in pop lets me be like, I can be under the umbrella of pop, but if I want to make a song like Knox one day, I can do that. And then if I want to make a song like Ariana Grande one day, I can do that. And then if I want to make a
Exactly.
beat for Drake one day, I can do that. Like
Mhm.
you look at people like, Max Martin, who a lot of his catalog has like such a similar sound, but some years he's pulling from disco, some years he's pulling from electronic music, some years he's making ballads,
Mhm.
some years he's, pulling from R&B. He did the New Jack Swing thing for a minute. Like, as a pop producer or a pop artist, you kind of get the liberty of not being so genre bound,
Right.
where somebody like I don't know, like let's say like somebody like Zach Bryan, who is a country artist, it is going to feel strange if they move very far away from that, right? Like, I think that is kind of the beauty of pop, is that you get to have it's like a melting pot of different genres.
Yeah.
But with that said, pop could be anything. Like,
I don't know why I think people just love to hate on pop music because they're like, it has no soul, the lyrics suck, the beat, people have calling it generic, it all sounds the same. And I'm just like, your parents' generation did the same shit about rock music when rock music was super popular.
Did the same thing about disco.
Yes,
did the same thing about Elvis.
Yes, like I just don't get it. I'm like, what is up with you just like hating on whatever's popular at the time? Even like we were just watching, this is kind of irrelevant, but kind of sort of relevant. We were watching that Hive Mind video of them doing the worst bars bracket.
Yeah.
They hated so many of the bars that talked. There were a couple in there that mentioned Fortnite, the video game. And they were like, I hate that. Like, it's going to age so bad. And I'm like, I don't hate that. I get that it is going to be like a stamp in time, obviously, because Fortnite in 10 years is probably not going to be as relevant as it is today. But I mean, you never know. But I'm just like, it's what's popular at that time. Like, who cares?
Well, and that could be anything. Like, it might feel a little bit more corny because it's a video game, but like, you could say the same thing about rappers in the early 2000s talking about Air Force Ones or juicy sweatsuits. Like, nobody's fucking wearing that anymore. Like Air Force Ones are still
references.
Popular. Yeah.
Like, people do movie references, TV references, but now video games are such a popular part of our culture. Why is it weird for people to talk about video games? Or like if people were talking about old school video games.
Like Grand Theft Auto gets dropped a lot.
Or like if people were talking about like Pac-Man or something like that in a video, like I don't think people would bat as much of an eye as it being Fortnite. I just think it's interesting. I think Fortnite 2 is just kind of
it's a cringy game.
Yeah, it is.
It's like a corny idea for a line.
Yeah, it is. I'm not disagreeing that it is like, I mean, I didn't like the line. I just thought it was an interesting concept of being like, ooh, this is going to age terribly. And
I don't disagree with their observation.
Oh, I don't either.
But I also don't agree with like your music shouldn't date the time period.
Me
like
either.
I think that's fine.
Yeah, who cares? That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't really think that's that big of a deal when something dates it.
Especially compared to some of those lines. Dude, those were crazy.
Oh my God, some of those were, that's a good video. You guys should go watch it. But that was, some of those lines were horrid. Now, maybe that was why too I didn't think it was that bad because I was like, compared to some of these other lines.
I don't care about Fortnite. He's talking about trying to get his baby topped off.
Oh,
like, it's crazy. If you're watching this out of context, there's a I think it's a Blueface lyric in there. I'm not going to repeat it on this podcast because I don't want to get the channel demonetized
and
before we have a chance to get it monetized.
Who wants to repeat
but
that?
But holy Christ, it's crazy.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about the channel is not going to be monetized. I didn't even think about that. I mean,
we're not making any money from this podcast.
We don't
guys.
make much anyway, so it's fine. But
no money. No, I don't care. We do this because we like it. Somebody asked, they're like, "Why do y'all dedicate so much time instead of making more videos?" And I was like, we like making the podcast. Like, I understand that this is only going to get 1,000 listens or views or whatever compared to a video that'll get 30, but
yeah,
I don't know. I like it.
Yeah,
so
but also,
if you're watching this is not all for
views.
Reach and clicks and ad money. Like, sometimes we just do things on Make Pop Music because we like it.
Yeah, because you have to keep in mind, too, how long it takes for him to actually set up a video. We'll come up with the video idea, set up the video, film the video, then I have to edit the video. Then
this hour-long podcast will take us 3 hours total.
Yeah.
Between filming it, editing it, putting it together, and releasing it. Where like a 30-minute video could take me like 16 hours. Between like having to make a song for it, edit that down, get the video edited. Like it's a lot. It's just a totally different ball game.
And it's a lot more pressure than this.
Yeah, I don't know why I jumped to a segue.
Yeah, I was going to say clearly as they're just like going off on tangents.
But back to the genre thing.
Yeah.
One of my other like big pet peeves is that I think a lot of people will take music way too seriously.
Yes,
like I think that music is obvious. If music is serious to you and it's important to you, I totally get that and respect that. Like, music is obviously one of the most important things in my life. Like, look around me, it is my life, and music has helped me out in like some of my worst times. But at the same time, like, I don't always need music that's gonna make me like find my soul or find my purpose or heal a wound. Sometimes I'm just trying to get drunk at a party and have a good time,
or just like dance while I'm cooking dinner. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't always need to be so heady.
Yeah, like sometimes I do just want, like a Lil Baby song to like throw it back to. Sometimes I don't want to sit there and like think and think and think about music, and everything's like a big long poem that has to be dissected, and everything's so deep and melancholy and important and like self-serious. Like,
it's exhausting.
It's great that music is like that out there, but like when you look at pop music, that is pop music to most people. Most people do not want to be in their car on the way to work and just hear a song that bums them the fuck out.
Yeah, especially if you hate your job or like your life is like not going great. It's like you really want to sit there and listen to music that's going to make you feel like you want to cry when you already want to cry from your own life. Like, no.
Literally.
Music to me is supposed to be an escape. And there are moments where it's good that music can help you work through something for you, help you work through something. Like, I definitely have songs that are like that have helped me realize things about myself or my life or get a new perspective on something or, you know, whatever. Or songs that just make you cry and it feels good to cry. But like, I don't want to listen to music like that every single day.
Are you supposed to want to listen to Matilda by the pool?
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
No, that's a bummer.
Like, I can't listen to that song all the time for a reason. I'm not trying to cry.
Right.
But it's like, I want to listen to music that just makes me feel good, that you just have a good time. And if that happens to be pop music for you, rock, rap, hip hop, whatever, country, who cares? Like,
100%.
It's just like, it doesn't need to be that serious all the time. And I just feel like there are so many art forms where it is so serious. Like, painting is usually very serious. All of a sudden can't think of any other genres that are creative.
Like dance.
Yeah, it's like there's so many things that are serious in the creative world. I feel like, why can't we just have
even
fun?
like movies? Like one of my I love a good movie that's like heartbreaking and makes you think, and it's just like a cathartic experience. But like sometimes I don't want to go watch The Iron Claw and cry.
Yeah, I want
like sometimes I want to go watch a shitty rom-com.
Yeah,
like I want to go watch Anyone But You.
Yeah,
and like just be like, haha, that movie's fun and stupid, and there's hot people that like each other. Like
exactly.
That's great.
And you
like,
know what the ending's gonna be. We all know they're gonna end up together, and it's so predictable. Yeah, it is, but sometimes that's just nice.
Sometimes I don't want to go watch like a fucking like The French Diplomat or like a fucking Wes Anderson movie where I have to analyze every angle of every shot. Yeah. And like if you like doing that, that's totally fine.
Yeah,
I like doing it too.
But it's all
sometimes
about balance, in my opinion.
A lot of people have to realize, like, if you're listening to this podcast, there is a good chance that you like music more than the average person.
Yeah.
Like, you're either involved in the music industry because you found us through Make Pop Music, or you found this topic and you were interested. However you found this, I don't know. But if you are listening to an hour-long podcast every other week about music, you are not average.
Right.
And so you have to understand that if an artist is trying to put out music that is commercially successful and big and reachable, it is going to be for the average person. You think about somebody like Max Martin, one of the greatest producers of all time, right? I just saw a clip of NSYNC talking about it's gonna be May bar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's gonna be May.
Mm-hmm.
So that happened because he's saying like it's gonna be me, and Max Martin was like, no, people in other countries don't say me, they would say May.
Yeah.
And we want this to be sung everywhere. And then he was talking about, like, Justin Timberlake was talking about, he was like, really, when you read it on paper, the song doesn't make any sense. It's like these like third grade level reading bar by bar lines. And like, it's the same with Hit Me Baby One More Time. It's simple. It's easy because you're trying to reach an international audience that might not speak English.
Right.
You're trying to reach children that might not understand what a metaphor or a simile is. You're trying to get to these audiences that maybe don't want to sit there and watch a Genius Deconstructed or an Anthony Fantano video breaking down every bar or every beat switch or every fucking instrument that you use that's slightly out of key because it serves a purpose. There's tons of stuff like that out there.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't want that. That's why the artists that get so much more artistic and so much more specific and so much more meticulous about like the art that they create typically don't end up being the ones that come out number one on Billboard.
Or they just don't want that all the time.
Exactly.
Like, I think it's perfectly fine to listen to that type of music and love that type of music.
I love it.
But like, you don't want to listen to it all the time. And if you do, that's great. But I mean, some people don't. Like, personally, my mind thinks enough and goes through enough. I really don't need to sit here and have a song help me do that as well. Some days I do, but
and
not
for me,
every
like,
day.
music affects my mood. Like,
me too.
Sometimes I can't just sit there and listen to a bunch of sad music back to back to back because I'm just like, fuck, dude, I'm getting bummed out. Like,
oh yeah, I'll be depressed.
Yeah, I was like, I need fun, upbeat summer music that like low stakes. And
even
like, that's
with shows,
fine.
I'm like that. Like if we watch, or a movie, like if we watch a sad show or a sad movie, we're both afterwards like, yeah, I need to watch like an episode of The Office or like something like that to refresh, like give me like a clean slate, like something happy. So it's not just ending on a sad note.
Yeah, I think that people lose that perspective because, again, like, it's not helped out by like critics. Like, people will look like Pitchfork and Metacritic and stuff like that to like start seeing how something is received.
Mm-hmm.
And people will start to be like, oh yeah, people didn't like the new Beyonce record because it had this many writers and it didn't do this and it did do this. And it's like, those people are average. Like, form your own opinion. Listen to it. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. If you can articulate those reasons, cool. If you can't articulate those reasons, that's also fair.
Right.
Like, I don't think that everybody's going to like every style of music ever. You're not going to like every song from an artist that you love ever. There's just going to be some times where the music was not for you. And that's fine. The music might be for a million other people.
Yeah.
And I think that
it's hard for people in the music industry to realize that other people just like stuff because they like it. Because a lot of time when you work in the music industry, you're like, oh, I like it because of this exact reason. Or like, this song resonates me because of this, a choice that they made and whatever. Like, you see it so much differently than the average person. But as someone who is an average person, I can tell you, sometimes you just like a song because you like it. It could have bad lyrics. It could have...
Espresso is one of the worst written songs I've heard in a minute. It is catchy.
The lyrics are so bad.
But it's so catchy.
But it's so
like
catchy.
Number 3 on the Billboard chart. Like,
yeah. Do I listen to it actively on my phone? No. But if it like comes up on a playlist, I'm not going to skip it.
if we're sitting by the pool and it comes on, I'm going to have a good time.
Yeah. Or if I like scroll through a little reel with someone using it, I'm like, oh, that's cute. That's a cute little song. It's like, it's just catchy. I don't know.
Like, same thing with the Beyonce record, right? Like, 16 Carriages, beautiful
that
song.
Is so good.
If I had 22 of those, I'd be fucking miserable. And if I had 22 of Texas Hold'em, it might feel a little bit hollow. So, like, sometimes people can dip into different emotions, dip into different sounds, dip into different styles. And, like, that is fine. I think at the end of the day, for people that are always critiquing pop music or critiquing genres as a whole or critiquing modern music as a whole, they just lose sight. Like, I would challenge you to go back to any decade and just pick a genre or a subgenre and tell me that if you don't look back with rose-colored lenses, it doesn't all sound the same.
Yeah, like country music from like 2000, like the early 2000s, all sounds so similar.
Are you going to be able to tell me what a Brad Paisley versus Blake Shelton versus Alan Jackson versus
Kenny Chesney
song all sound like?
I didn't even realize how much they all sounded alike until we were in a coffee shop and they were playing like clearly a playlist from that exact time. And I like knew all the songs because my parents did listen to country music when I was growing up. And I was like, I didn't even know this was this artist. Like I all got the artist wrong of who I thought they were because they all sounded very, because it was a genre, a time period when that type of country music was popular. Like I would call it like beach country, like was very popular at that time.
Look at people like my dad's age that will like look back on like hair metal of the 80s, right? And they're like, oh, that was the best genre. Like that was the best time for music ever. Are you going to look me dead in my fucking face and tell me that Poison, Motley Crue, Van Halen, Wasp, Warrant don't all sound the exact goddamn same?
Right.
Like they do. And that's fine. It's a great genre of music. I love music like that. I think a lot of people love music like that. But you don't get to criticize music now and not hold those criticisms for music then.
Yeah.
If that's something you want to be a stickler about.
Yes, it's inconsistency is what annoys me.
And it comes off as just elitism. It comes off as you being a fucking grouchy ass old person. Like,
or young, there's some people who are like that too. Yeah. It just is like, it's just an interesting thing to care so much about.
It's an interesting hill to die on.
It is. Especially when there's, like we talked about this 1,000 times, how there's so much music. So if you don't like what's popular, I promise you can find thousands of songs that you will like.
If you want to listen to a folk, shoegaze, death metal, polka song with rap over it, I'm sure there's somebody out there doing it.
That is
like
crazy.
There is more music out in the world right now than literally ever in the history of the universe.
Yeah.
So if you are just constantly having issues with all of the music, it might be a you thing.
Yeah.
I hate to tell you, but like you just might be impossible to satisfy.
It's also hard to complain about what's popular because we all have our phones. Like you can listen to whatever kind of music you want. Like sure, if you have an older car, you might not be able to, but most cars like 20, well, when did they start getting like where you could like play music in your
2012?
car? Yeah.
Like even with like aux cords, like 2007.
Yeah, it's true. Like aux cords. Yeah.
Like-
I guess what I'm saying, like most, like you don't have to listen to the radio most of the time. Most of the time you can just listen to your own music and almost at any time in your life, or any point in your day.
And even with radio, you can pick a radio station that plays the genre that you prefer.
Yeah.
Pick a rock station or a country station or a hip hop
Yeah,
station
so
or a
it's-
90s R&B station.
It's just interesting.
It just comes off as one of those things of like, you spent time complaining about it when you could have spent time supporting some artists that you enjoy or some music that you enjoy. It's just like, I think people get too bold sharing unsolicited opinions that like really nobody asked for. Like, I didn't ask for your opinion on pop music. I don't really care if you think it's beneath you. I don't really care if you think that Kiss is a better band than One Direction. Like, that doesn't make any difference. It's so subjective that I'm not going to waste time arguing with you because you're totally entitled to your opinion, but so is everybody else because it is so subjective and it is so based on taste and preference and what resonates with you and what time of your life you heard whatever piece of art that you're consuming. Like if somebody were to tell me that Dumb and Dumber is their favorite movie of all time, I can't sit there and be like, are you shitting me? Not The Godfather, not Batman, not like, it doesn't matter. I don't care.
Who cares?
Like, I barely care about my own opinions enough to make them hurt. Like, I definitely don't care enough to like tell them to other people.
Yeah.
Like, it's so weird to me, especially because subjectively you can like whatever you want. Objectively, I don't think your point stands. I don't think that music now all sounds the same.
Right.
I think that music now sounds different, more different than ever. Like, if I were to look at 80s artists, I think that Aha and Tears for Fears and Madonna and Paula Abdul all sound dramatically more similar than Taylor Swift, Shabuzi, Noah Khan, and I don't know, Doja Cat. Yeah, like I literally don't think that those artists could all sound more different.
Yeah.
So it just, I don't know. It feels like an unfair thing of people that, it feels like honestly people that don't really listen to music make that observation. And I'm like, I don't think you listen to enough music to have an opinion like that. Because if you did, I think you would understand that like, objectively, that just can't be the case.
Yeah.
I understand if you're like, oh, Sabrina Carpenter kind of sounds like some of the disco-y Doja Cat and Lizzo songs, which kind of sounds like Dua Lipa, which kind of sounds like that. I can understand that.
Yeah, but again, those are...
But that's just a style. It's a genre. It's a little micro trend of 4 on the floor kicks and snare on the 2 and the 4 and a nice upbeat bass line with a funk guitar. It will pass. If you don't like it, there's a million other pop songs. There's a million other disco songs or rock songs or hip-hop songs. So don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it, sweetheart.
Don't worry about it, sweetheart. It's that splat.
I love that little kid.
Me too. I wonder how he's doing.
I know. He's probably like 20 now. No, I'm just kidding.
That's Joe Biden. Feel old yet?
Oh my God.
Other than that, I think the last little thing that we could talk about is like the micro trends. We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but a lot of people are always asking like, what do you think the next trend in pop music will be? Like, what do you think the next big style is going to be? Because I think up to probably like 5-6 years ago, you can look at a style of music and be like, that is undecidedly 2003 rock.
I literally said that
I know,
earlier.
that's what I'm saying. Like, you've literally said that, like, if you were to hear a Kylie Minogue song, you could be like, I can give you a 3-year window of when that song happened.
Yeah.
If you were to hear a Nelly Furtado song, same thing. If you were to hear a Prince song, same thing. Where now, I don't think that we're going to have trends in the same way of, like, every radio song is going to sound like Tayo Cruz or Neo or Lady Gaga, where it's like all super bombastic club electronic instrumentation with the most irritating top line you've ever heard. I think that we are past that, and I think that that will only exist in like pockets now, where like if you want to be an artist nowadays who's influenced by that, you can go do that. That's totally fine. There's an audience for it. Find them on TikTok or Instagram or wherever. If you want to make music inspired by 2000s pop punk, there's a whole lane for that. Go do that. If you want to make music that's got country infused with pop, there's a whole thing for that. If you want to make music that sounds like crooner music from the 1960s or late 1950s, go do that. Like, I think it's more, the power's more in artists' hands now than ever.
Yeah.
Because the audience is more in the artist's hands now than ever.
For sure, yeah.
Like,
It's not really up to the label to decide what you're going to sound like as much.
100%. Like, it kind of still is.
Oh,
but like,
definitely still
up to a point
is.
of like, you don't have to sign with a label right now.
Right,
if you sign to a label,
exactly.
you're probably signing because you were already making waves doing whatever you wanted to do to start with.
Yeah.
Like, we're not seeing the thing as much anymore where like a label like talent scout a young person and be like, this is going to be your image, this is going to be your sound, you're going to have this choreography, you're going to wear these clothes and do that a million times.
Right.
Like, I think that age is over. And so now, like we said earlier with fashion, like if you want to dress Y2K, dress Y2K. If you want to dress cowboy chic, dress cowboy chic. Like, nobody really cares anymore. And
yeah.
I think everything moves so fast now because everything is so online and so consumable that like, if you were to hear the new Shibuya record that's doing great and decide like that's the kind of music that I want to make, you better get on it because 7 months from now, they're going to be doing something else, which means that the audience that they've captured is going to move on as well.
Right.
And so the big 3-4 year spans of like a genre really taking hold of the charts, I think is done.
Isn't that crazy how trends like that happen like all throughout everything?
Yeah.
Like with clothing, with music,
with films.
Like
films.
films.
Look at superhero films in
Yes,
like the
those are
2010s.
so popular.
And then before that, like look at the movies that were like running the box office in like the early 2000s. It was like the rom-coms.
Every
It was
Matthew
like
McConaughey
the coming
rom-com.
of age movies.
Mm-hmm.
And now I don't know if those would even get a studio budget. If they did, they'd be straight to streaming.
Yeah. I was shocked that Anyone But You movie went to movie theaters.
That was a big deal. Like that.
Yeah.
And like, I can't remember the name of it, but that like raunchy comedy that Jennifer Lawrence did like a year ago or 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
But people were like,
I don't know the
oh, this
name
is
of
going to
it.
be like a 2010s Judd Apatow style, like adult comedy. And like that doesn't exist anymore. But for 7 years, Superbad and Knocked Up and 40-Year-Old Virgin and This Is Us, those were the only thing, or This Is 40, those were the only things getting played.
That is a show.
Yeah, that's a sad show,
Very
apparently.
different genre, though.
But like, even when you look at dance, right? Like you can look at like dance trends, right? You can look at people cranking that Soulja Boy. You can look at snapping your fingers. You can look at doing the twist. You can look at doing like the surf. Like there are going to be big moments in culture that will then spark subcultures, right? Like I think that's what people are forgetting is like you can look at a genre being like its own culture of people, and then within that they'll have their subgenres and their subcultures. But like just because you listen to, I don't know, like just because you listen to Dashboard Confessional does not mean that you will automatically like The Used. Like they might fall in alternative rock. One is much heavier, one is much more mellow, kind of sounds like a worship band, like literally not the same at all just because they might be categorized as the same thing in the Best Buy CD lane. And I think that that's what people forget with genres is like you have your big staple genres, you have your pop, your rock, your hip hop, your R&B, your country, soul, which has kind of just gotten into like R&B now, and then like all of your world music. So like your reggaeton, your Afro beats, your, you know, bachata, all that kind of stuff. And then under that, like within rock, you have pop rock, you have metal, you have heavy metal, you have grunge, you have alternative. And then even within that, you have artists doing their own things. So like,
yeah, there's so many microgenres that I did not even know existed.
Yeah, go on your
crazy.
day list right now. If you're a Spotify user, literally just type into Spotify day list and see what it says. It will come up with like your own little genre playlist of like whatever
Yeah.
it thinks that you would enjoy at that particular time that you look it up.
So many of them too have like really funny names. They're like Fairy Cottage Popcore, and it's like, what does that mean?
So like mine right now is Nostalgia All-Time Classics for Summertime Afternoon. So it's essentially a bunch of shit that you would hear out at a pool because that's what I'm typically doing at 1 o'clock in the summer.
Yeah.
So like Cowboy Coastal, like Sunset House, like these are all doof rave. Doof rave in the afternoon. It's just one of those things of like, there's going to be genre after genre after genre get created and fall apart and get people that, you know, really like solidify it. I just don't really understand the whole like writing off a whole gigantic sector of music unless you just don't prefer it. And in which
that's
case
fine.
you need
Just
to
don't listen to it.
Yeah, you need to recognize that's a personal choice.
Yeah, there's a lot of genres of music that I don't like country music. I don't listen to it. I don't like most rap besides women rappers. I do like. That's about the only category though I like.
But that doesn't negate the things that all those artists in those genres are doing.
And it doesn't mean that they're not talented.
Doesn't mean that your opinion is the right one.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean I can sit here and say, oh, all rap sounds exactly the same or all country sounds exactly the same because I don't listen to it. When you don't listen to a type of music, you do think it all sounds the same because you don't listen to it.
You don't understand it.
Yeah, it's like you're not listening to these different artists and understand. And also sometimes the most popular songs that come off that album is not usually what the whole album even sounds like. Like, I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
I'm curious
strange.
How our generation is if our generation's gonna do that. Cause I always see like reels of people being like, me getting annoyed at teenagers and it was like, oh no, I'm turning into that person. And it's like, all right, that could all be us one day.
Yeah, like I see people that will talk about like TikTok slang, right? Like words that like 17-year-olds use now. And they're like,
some 12-year-olds,
I don't get what like really bussin' means. And it's like, yeah, well, that's what people said with swag in 2012.
I don't think that is the weird one. The ones that I don't get are like are they like Fortnite terms?
Like skibbity?
Yes. Like,
what the fuck is a skibbity toilet?
I actually found a reel of this little girl. I mean, she had to be like 8 or 10. And she was explaining what it meant to her dad. And she was very good at explaining it, by the way. But I still was just like, this is so interesting. This is just like how kids talk.
And you know what? That's totally fine because it's not for us.
Exactly.
It's not for 29-year-old adults who pay taxes and own a home and have jobs and shit to do.
That's what you don't understand is like not everything is made for you.
That lexicon is made for a group of people that I am not in. It's
exactly.
Like it's almost like dialect in different like cultures or like ethnicities. Like not everything is for you.
Yeah,
like you're not supposed to understand everything. You're not supposed to get to enjoy everything. You're not supposed to be able to relate to everything. It is not all about you. The world is a big place and everybody is having to find their own groups of people. Like the other day I saw this tweet and it was so funny. It was like, why does 7 times 3 equal 21? Why is that so cunt? And why has it always been? And I immediately knew exactly what it was talking about.
Me too.
And I thought it was so funny. And I like told one of my friends and they were like, I literally don't understand this at all. And I was like, it's either one of those things you get it or you don't get it.
And I understood it
I cannot explain it.
And it just like, it's one of those things that like makes sense. Have you ever seen people say those things of like, Thursday is purple and like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like things
it's
like
synesthesia
that.
For chronically online people.
Yeah, it's like some things just make sense. And
if they don't, then they don't.
7 times 21.
7 times 3 equals 21.
I'm dyslexic, you guys. Sorry. 7 times 3 equals 21. It is
cunt.
It just makes sense. It's good.
It is what it is.
It's like, I don't know. Feels good. I don't know what to say.
So I think that, honestly, I think more people should have that exact perspective to all forms of culture, to music, to movies, to books, to fucking poetry, to dance, to art, like to photography. I don't really care. Like,
yeah.
Sometimes you either get it or you don't. And if you don't get it, that's fine. You don't have to take time out of your day to bitch about it and to like rain on other people's parades.
Yeah.
Just move on. There's enough in the world. I promise you there's enough to go enjoy right now.
I think people just don't want to like none of us want to feel excluded, obviously. And I think when you don't get something or you don't like something, you feel like an outcast and people don't like that. But I think it's like you're saying, there's so many things in genres nowadays. It's kind of hard. It's not hard to feel like an outcast, but it's easier to find your people almost online and things like that. So it's like,
stop trying to fit in where you might not belong.
Yeah,
and find where you do.
Yeah. Like I don't understand, like, I don't watch foreign films and like claim to understand those. Like I'm not that kind of intelligent. That's not my cup of tea, but it doesn't mean that I look down on people who it is, or that those people should look down on me because I don't understand movies that they like.
Right. Like you might not want to go watch an art house film at a local movie theater on a Saturday night.
Yeah, but if you do, I don't think you're an asshole. I think you're an asshole if you look down on people for not liking that type of film or being like, yeah, you don't understand that, you're stupid. It's like, if you think someone is stupid for what they like, I think you're an asshole. I don't 100%. Think you're smarter. I don't think you have better taste.
I think you're entitled.
Yeah, I just think you have something wrong with you because that's weird. Like something that brings someone happiness that's not affecting you at all or harming anybody and you caring about that, you need to do some inner work because that's weird. That's really weird.
Yeah, I just can't really imagine, like, why should I, as a 29-year-old white male, really care what, like, 16-year-old black kids are doing in the hip-hop culture? Like, that is not for me to decide. That's, if I enjoy it, then I enjoy it. And if I want to support that culture, then I do. And if I don't get it, if I don't enjoy it,
you don't need to go and
stay away
rant about
from
it.
It's fine. Like, you do not get to be this, like, weird overseer, gatekeeper of culture just because you think that whatever you like or whatever you hold at high esteem is above somebody else. Like, it's just so strange to me. And it just creates this weird perpetual thing of, like, circling back to what we said at the very top of the episode. Our parents thought it was weird, the kind of movies we watched and the kind of games we played and the kind of music we listened to.
Right.
Their parents thought it about them. Their parents thought it about them. All the way back to, like, before Christ.
You could probably go
like,
anywhere.
Forever. Like, you don't think in, like, ancient Roman villages, they were like, oh, I don't really understand the games that these kids play, but they seem to have a good time doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
People are going to find groups of people, create art, create culture, create entertainment, and sometimes it just doesn't translate outside of that immediate group of people, and that's fine.
And it's not meant to. Also, you don't have to have an opinion on everything.
No.
You can just not have an opinion. It's really great, actually. You would recommend it.
I think that I would rather spend my time having an opinion about things that I do care about.
Like, I don't have an opinion on a lot of things. Like, Austin literally asked me, what do you think about this Drake song? What do you think about this? I'm like, I don't have an opinion. Like, I really don't have an opinion on any of it.
Like, you don't care enough to listen to it in depth enough to think about it.
I don't care enough about the situation. I don't care enough about either of them. I don't care enough about the, like, little details that are people are like, oh, well, this is really good because and it's not, I'm not saying that, like, you're dumb if you care about that. I just personally, I don't want to have an opinion on it because it doesn't.
It's indifferent.
Spark joy for me. So, yeah, I'm just indifferent about it. I just, like, it's not something I care about. But if it's something that, like, Austin is listening to it or cares about it, or, like, if I have a friend that likes about it or cares about it, that's fine. I will listen to you talk about it. But, like, if you try to ask me my opinion, I'm not going to have one.
100%.
I just simply don't have an opinion about that.
100%. I think we came into this one hot.
I think you came into it hot.
I come from, like, I will literally listen to any kind of music.
Yeah, you
and
really
sometimes
will.
I like it and sometimes I don't. And, like, sometimes I do want to articulate that opinion and other times I'm just like, oh, it's not for me. Like, I get it. Like, I get why people like XYZ, but, like, I'm just not into it.
Yeah,
like,
there's that. I get why people like a lot of music that I don't like. And I'm someone who doesn't listen to, like, a plethora of music. So I get why like, I don't think my opinion is
like, I might not go
worth
listen to
more.
Turnstile all the time because I just, like, don't find it that enjoyable a lot of the time. But, like, I understand that they're a great band and they have a huge fan base and, like, they're obviously doing very well. And I can still, like, respect them as musicians, respect them as people, respect them as entertainers, respect their fans as supporters, and not enjoy it or like it, or really even, like, if you don't even appreciate it as an art form, it's like, that's not really for you to decide.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
like,
really not.
you can go have your opinion, but, like, you don't have to be an asshole to everybody about it.
Well, it's interesting.
All the time.
Again, it's like there's certain things that only happen within music. Like, if you go to an art gallery and you don't like one artist there, you're not sitting there while people are looking at it being like, oh, wow, this is really cool. And you're like, actually, no, it's not. It's really stupid.
Yeah.
I don't like it for this reason. Like, no one does that. No, like, you don't diminish people for liking Van Gogh art versus somebody else, like Picasso. Like, you're not sitting there. Like, I just don't get it. Like, it's just interesting how we have this superiority complex when it comes to your music taste.
I think because music is so accessible and people are around it so often that they just, like, get to form this false opinion of, like, oh, yeah, well, I listen to a lot of music, so I must know a lot about music, so I get to have this, like, opinion.
Yeah. Which you do get to have an opinion, but, like, you don't get to be rude.
I don't think
your
that's always
opinion.
justified in, like, you voicing it.
Yeah.
I just
don't. I think it's okay to have an opinion as long as you're not rude about it.
Just respect everybody.
Yeah. Like, you don't have to tear somebody down or, like, an artist down or, like, someone else's music taste down because you don't agree with it. Like,
Move
why?
on.
Yeah. Again, you can just not have an opinion.
Bingo. Speaking of moving on, I think that pretty much does it for this podcast.
Yeah.
We'll end with our weekly recs.
Oh my God, I forgot again. Why do I always forget? I knew we were filming this podcast this entire day and I forgot.
Stupid bitch.
I know. Oh man. I don't know, you guys. You go ahead if you have, or do you have one? Do you know?
Yeah, I have one.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to recommend a clothing company that I just bought from because I ruined two pieces of their clothing this morning. It's a company called Tombolo. If you've ever watched our channel, you've probably seen me wear quite a bit of their stuff. But they make like summer wear, like resort wear. They do a lot of like sets. I'm a big fan of matching sets. If you're not on that game yet, it is like the best way to basically dress in pajamas and get everybody to compliment on your outfit.
It's true.
Their sets are made out of like terry cloth typically, which feels like you're wearing a gigantic towel. So Tombolo is great. Literally before we filmed this podcast, I was wearing something completely different and I spilled a turmeric shot all over like white terry cloth on the set, and it is it's toast.
And the best part is that shirt is half white, half like a
Like
salmon pink, like a dark pink, and it only got on the white part.
And like, I love Tombolo. I'm recommending it. It is not an inexpensive brand. Like,
oh yeah, it's pricey.
I literally like the set so much. I paid probably too much money to buy it again after I completely ruined it. And I've had that thing for years. So it is one of my favorite clothing brands in the world. It is like the most comfortable clothes you'll ever wear. So if you're a person who's like looking for fun summer clothes and doesn't just want to wear like shorts and like really plain button-up linen shirts, check them out. They're great. They have a little bit of something for everybody. They have like super loud, crazy stuff, and they have more like minimal kind of summer staples. So go check that out. That is Tombolo. I have no affiliation with them, but if for some reason somebody from Tombolo hears this and wants to send me a shirt, I'll tell you which few I don't have. So you can send me one of the others.
That's funny.
Other than that, yeah, get your swag up.
Okay, my rec is going to be a show that I forced Austin to watch, and then he really liked it. I didn't force him. He actually volunteered.
I'm a good husband.
Yeah, generally. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's Bridgerton on Netflix. I'm sure all of you have heard about it. They're coming out with a new season May 15th, I want to say.
Yeah, so right around the time y'all hear this.
Yeah, actually. And I'd watched it by myself when he was in Nashville. And then I had mentioned when we were scrolling through the other day, it was a few weeks ago, being like, oh, I can't wait to watch this new season. I'll have to watch it by myself. And he's like, well, I'll watch it. And I'm like, well, you've never seen it. You're not going to understand it. He's like, well, I'll just watch I'll rewatch it with you. And I was like, yes.
It's great. You should definitely watch it.
Yeah, now he really likes it. The first episode, which I hate when people say this, so I hate being this person. But the first episode is like, you got to get through it.
There's a lot to establish.
Yes, there's a lot to establish. And they talk, obviously, because it's like set in like 1813 England. So, the talking is a little pretentious.
I do think the dialogue tones down after the first episode.
I think it does. That or you get used to it, or maybe both. I'm not really sure. But it is really good. Would recommend. Don't watch it if you have kids around, though, because it's not appropriate
Very spicy.
Yeah, it's spicy. Not appropriate for children. But anyway, that's it. That's my rec. Hope you guys have a great week. That's my other rec.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode. Again, if you're watching this on the new channel, make sure that you subscribe to the Sound Table. We're posting these every other Wednesday. We might even post our clips on here. I don't know about that yet. I have to see if that would like absolutely wreck our algorithm. But make sure you subscribe. It's a big risk us like starting a new channel for this. So show us some love and some support. If you want to check out all of the other cool stuff we do, head over to makepopmusic.com. That's where we have all of our sample packs, preset packs, courses, weekly YouTube videos, all kinds of cool stuff. But that is going to do it. Let us know what you want us to talk about in the comments below. We are taking your recommendations for future episodes. And then I think that does it. Other than that, much love. Peace.